Hello everybody, John here, and today onto the garage, another unusual tool talk. Just one tool today, a thing called an Elastrator. So, have you ever struggled with rubber grommets or O-rings? In that you want to stretch these things to get them over the fitting that they need to go over. But of course, when you stretch it like that, it gets narrow that way. You kind of need to stretch it in 3 dimensions or push it onto the device, but it's got sharp edges. With the grommets, very often you're trying to force quite a lot of wiring through the hole in them. And again, you need to stretch the things in order to get the wiring through. Once the wiring's gone through, it shrink down and that'll be the perfect size. And then you can manipulate it into maybe a hole in a bulkhead. But again, it's hard to stretch things in 3 dimensions. And I know that sometimes I put screwdrivers inside these and start levering and whatever. Well, there is a tool that is quite uncommon. I own a very early original set. This is it. It's called an Elastrator, but it's made for this sort of job. Now, before anybody jumps online and gives me a load of comments, I am very familiar with the reason these were invented was not to help people with car problems. It was a veterinary tool, and we'll just leave it at that. So yeah, I'm familiar with what their very original patent was for. But it's called an Elastrator. And if you look at the end, on the end, there is 4 pins. And those 4 pins, when you squeeze the handles, separate evenly. 2 of them are fixed and are working on the outer one's a plier, just opening up. And 2 of them run in tubes within the tool. And not only do they separate with the plier action, but they pull back into the tool. So this tool is able to spread in 4 directions relatively evenly and relatively easily. And it's got a nice little mechanism down the bottom, giving it a lot of mechanical advantage. So to use this thing, you just take, for instance, this O-ring, drop it over the fingers, apply a tiny bit of pressure, and then squeeze gently until you've extended it to the size that you want, and then release and drop it back down onto the fitting that you're installing it on. Or if you're using a grommet, much more significant piece of rubber, maybe you've got to push wiring through here. The wiring itself will fit, but the unions on the end are really quite large. So before this goes onto the bulkhead, you've got to pass the heads or connectors through this grommet. Then again, just onto the fingers, apply a little bit of pressure, and you've got the grommet straight up to a very large size, and then you can shrink it back down, oops, get my finger caught, to its natural size and install it into the bulkhead. So a very useful tool that can do all sorts of little tricks to get you out of a bind. You can use just 2 of the pins if you want, like so. Get that 2-directional stretch. Or in that direction. You see that on the Elastrator trademark. It's got a patent number on it. But they are very similar tools are available as pattern tools these days. Aerospace uses them a fair amount for fitting glands and fittings for wiring and trunking. Sometimes you'll see like heat shrink being stretched with a version of this with very long fingers on here. And there are even variants on the tool that are used for things like CV joints and steering rack boots, that sort of thing. I'll put a link to this tool or very, very similar in the description below, in case you've never seen one before and have suddenly realised, oh, I have to have one of those in my life. See you soon, folks. If you just go to Amazon/shop/to the garage, and I'll put that link in the description below so that you can just click on it. It takes you to the garage area of Amazon that is categorized into hand tools, power tools, gadgets and gizmos, things specifically the XK8, etc. that I've bought from Amazon over the years, so that you can follow the same links and have a look, see how much those cost at the moment. Nice little feature. Thank you, Amazon.